The next question.
Nowadays, there are more and more homosexual people in the world. In Taiwanese Buddhist centers accept homosexual marriage. What's the point of view of Buddhism about homosexual? What karma do they makes this change?
Buddhist literature is clearly mentioned. You see, the sexual, same sort of sex, is wrong. But that's to believer. Then non-believer, so long, sort of, what's the sex, same sort of,
Same gender.
I mean, man to man, female to female, so long it's safe. Okay. So that's, then marriage, that's according to the country's sort of law. You should follow your country's law. That's all. Then serious sort of practitioner about Buddhism, then should avoid. That's all. Even animals, sometimes you see they do that is the same sex, sometimes they play together. So we also essentially animal, isn't it? Like that. Next question.
In modern society, people get more and more pressured and depressed. Apart from dedication, what can I do for them and for myself?
Karsa. I think the other day I mentioned the education system, existing education system. I think only how to lead our life with material sort of material development or material comfort. So not talk about the physical level experience and the mental level experience. And the physical level, pains and pleasure, and the mental level, pains and pleasure. There are two different things. Between these two, mental level are more superior. Physical level, pain, can subdue by mental level, calmness or satisfaction. The mental level, worry, unhappiness, sadness, cannot subdue by physical comfort. That's clear, isn't it? So people, there's no idea. See, these two levels, mental level and the physical level. So I think firstly, I really feel, actually I think last 2 years, we had sort of more serious discussion about these things. And then as a result, now some university professors, including some Delhi University professors, now actually we are carrying some research work, how to introduce in modern education system, that means secular education system, about these secular way of ethics, right? Secular ethics, how to introduce. Then in order to in order to teach, in order to explain student or young children about the secular sort of ethics, we have to sort of explain about mind, emotion. So unless you have some sort of idea about something like, usually I call map of mind, map of emotion, unless you get some sort of rough idea, the map of the emotion, mind, then different emotions, such emotion, very bad for our health. Such emotion, very good for our health. then these emotions, how develop, what sort of immediate causes and conditions, some sort of rough knowledge about the whole sort of mental system. Through that way, we can teach the importance of love and compassion, these things. Not from religious background, but simply for physical health, right? Physical health and mental health, like that. So I think now, next year, next January, we are going to have some sort of meeting and further discussion. So I think next year we may have one curriculum which strictly based on non-religion, simply academic sort of subject. So then we are hoping some school. The other day I mentioned some people from Hong Kong, from Hong Kong. I mentioned. So I think in India, some school already include some moral ethics in India, like that. So as an experiment, some school carry these sort of curriculum or these texts. Then we'll see what effect. The last few years, MD University and also Wisconsin University and Stanford University, Stanford University, at least these three universities, now last I think few years, they already carry some sort of the program as an experiment. Short period, say 2 weeks, 3 weeks, some training of mind. So result, quite sort of convincing. As a scientist, as a scientific experiment, before that sort of experiment start, they check blood pressure and amount of stress. They also use some sort of the method to
check saliva, samples of saliva.
Like that. So they check, all these check. Then after 2-3 weeks, some sort of lesson, some training, again check. There's significant change. Blood pressure reduce, stress much reduce. The person becoming much happier, and their sort of contact or their relation with their sort of friends or their inmates,
The colleagues, students.
or colleagues or students becoming much more friendly, happier. So already some experiment now carry. Now I think Wisconsin area, I think some school already, carry some sort of lesson about these secular ethics, mainly love, compassion, these things, with certain sort of explanation about mental function, and mainly based on scientific finding, like that. Not relying on religious sort of quotation or teaching, no. Simply scientific finding, like that. So that's, I think, only hope. Otherwise, they just think about material and the material sort of value. In any case, there is limitation. Many years ago, when Japan, the economic condition, each year used to go like that. That time, one occasion I sort of expressed, now material progress, sooner or later, you will find some stage, no further develop. So some limitation. When exactly after a few years, the Japanese economy then find some difficulties like that. So economy, material value. In any case, there is limitation. Now, mental development, no limitation. But usually we, due to lack of knowledge, lack of experience, so we, too much expectation about material value, further develop. Actually, there is limitation. Then mental level sort of progress, no limitation, but no botheration, not showing interest. Clear. So I think while material development, of course, very, very important, very helpful, but meantime, pay some attention about mental system, mental sort of system, sort of mental sort of system. I think as a part of our education, then I think whole thinking will change. So education everywhere. So in education, modern education system, not religious subject, but purely non-religious way, so introduce some sort of knowledge, teaching about mind, about emotion. That I think can, through that way, it can be some kind of revolution. Isn't it? I think possible. I think real hopeful. I think West. I often used to telling Westerners, you, in the past, too much exploitation, Western imperialist. Oh, many Asian countries, many African countries, many Latin American countries, you see they controlled by Western nations. British Empire. You from, lady? Britain. Oh, so the Great Britain, the greatest imperialist, colonialist. And you, American, your ancestor come from? Huh? Italy. Oh, you also in some African countries, you occupied these countries, and Holland, Dutch, and Portugal also, Spain also, like that. In any way. But meantime, the idea, democracy, rule of law, I think Great Britain, I think very realistic. Keep your sort of the emperor, monarchy, as a symbol, but at the same time, fully sort of practice democratic system. Clear. French seems to see little difficulties. They found, you see, contradictions, so they eliminate all French royal family, these things. So in any way, Western countries looks, you see, you got a lot of sort of experience, then eventually all these colonial sort of countries, you see, give independence, their own sort of ruled way, like that. Then science and technology, you see, develop mainly in the Western countries. So you are, I think, among human sort of brothers, sisters, you are more mature. So, when in 60s, 70s, when one occasion I had the opportunity to visit Singapore. And when I give some teaching, Singaporean Buddhist, mainly Chinese Buddhist, when I give some sort of initiation, and they are very sort of, because of that, pay much attention. When I give explanation about Buddhism, those Westerners, oh, when I give explanation, they really, you see, showing interest and making note or tape recorder like that. So they are sort of quite sort of today, I think, open-minded and more serious. So when I give talk about these things, the audience in the West, in the European countries, different European countries, and America, I think very, very sort of receptive way. Receptive. Some other countries, sometimes not that much. So I think these, now you see new thinking in education sort of system. I feel more possibility, you see some change start from some of the European countries. Like I think 3 years ago, I was in Quebec. Actually, the universities in Quebec area, they gathered some kind of teachers' training about secular ethics. Usually, you see, ethics, any sort of ethics teaching, they related with religious sort of teaching. So in Christian countries, based on Christian sort of belief. Actually, one time in Germany, then still East Germany and West Germany, one occasion, one sort of my talk in Bonn. That my talk, the Bonn government, the home minister, come. And then before my talk, very simply some talk. Then about ethics, I mentioned about ethics. Then, you see, that minister, told me, any moral ethics must be based on religious faith. I kept quiet. Then also, I a little bit sort of bold. The late His Holiness Pope John Paul, her second summary, a wonderful Polish Pope, wonderful. Since my first sort of meeting, at once we become very close friend. Oh, wonderful person, wonderful person. One occasion, quite late, one occasion, I asked him whether moral principle based on secular way without religious base, is it possible or not? I asked Pope, and the Pope silence. Then one of his lieutenant, one cardinal, respond me, no. Moral ethics must be based on religious faith. So the Quebec, now they try to find secular ethics not based on religious faith. So they carry some kind of teachers' training. I think few weeks. So they invited me, give some talk. Then my usual sort of thinking, I give some talk like that. So you see, there's some initiative coming in from this area. So I think so while we Asian or another sort of thing, one occasion, a scientific sort of meeting, I think at least around 10 years ago, one meeting, there are some Japanese scientists, one lady participated. The first day, second day, that Japanese lady remained silent, no comment, no give comment. The third day, she mentioned, she usually feel we East Easterner, right? Easterner. See, we have some sort of material which Western scientists carry examination, right? Investigation, right? But we ourselves, you see, no ability to investigate. Investigation. But this time, she mentioned, but this time, after 2 days, she observed. Now we Easterner also have the ability to investigate. She mentioned. I think we Asian, usually, you see, we carry our own sort of religious sort of teaching, not much sort of investigate, not much sort of questions. I think we should change that. As I mentioned earlier, Chinese traditionally follower of Nalanda tradition. And those other Asian countries which follow the Pali tradition. You also the basis of all these sort of, investigation. All these is based on, like I mentioned, Four Noble Truths, these things. So therefore, I think, at least we Buddhists, I think should now develop more questions. And in order to develop questions, skepticism is very necessary. We should not have blind faith. We should have more skepticism. More skepticism brings question. Question brings investigation. Investigation brings answer or find answer. Just blind faith. It should be a Buddha state or my teacher state. Then stop. No further investigation. So I want to again recite that sort of special sort of quotation of Buddha. O my follower, bhikshus, scholars, should not accept my teaching out of faith, out of devotion, but rather out of thorough investigation and experiment. That's a very scientific way. Clear? Again, I think about 40 years ago, at the beginning, my thinking seriously, the dialogue with modern scientists. Then that time, one American lady who actually married one Tibetan, Tibetan. So I mentioned that lady about my sort of desire to carry some serious sort of dialogue or discussion with modern scientists. Then she told me, oh, be careful. Science is a killer of religious faith. Then I thought, no, Nalanda tradition and Buddha himself, give every encouragement to further investigation, even Buddha's own word. Therefore, we have liberty to investigate. The modern scientists also, you see, investigation. Both, we Buddhists, through investigation, mainly using logics and inner experience. The scientist investigation based on instrument and mathematics, like that. So different way of approach, but both investigate what's the reality. Up to now, science mainly physical things, which can measure and can rely third person. The certain subject which we Buddhists investigate, these we cannot sort of Kasuta, cannot involve third person, but mainly subject experience, like that. So there are some little differences, but nowadays, among the scientists also now begin to develop interest about mind, about emotion, because this is very, very crucial for health, for healthy society, healthy family. Clear? And including one sort of question, nowadays in modern society, a lot of sort of the mental crisis. Actually, under sort of beautiful as a surface, underneath some sort of moral crisis, some mental crisis, all in there. So look, Japan, materialistic education, highly developed, but a lot of suicide among students. And Singapore, how many? Suicide? Not much. Huh? Some. Recently, I was in Ladakh. I was told previously in Ladakh area, no cases of suicide. But nowadays, among the students, some suicide now happening. So materialistic development, more sense of competition. Through that way, sort of more desire, more ambition. Through that way, is some crisis here, like that. So our mind not well balanced. So like that. So then last question.
How do